Uh, my daughters, who watch a lot of our games and have seen our games for years, were saying, "Dad, why do your teams always get off to slow starts?" I don't know. I wish I could fix it. I'm trying to fix it, trying to figure things out. But the most important thing is, how do you finish? But when we were struggling there in the first half, at the media timeout at the 8-minute mark, we were down, I think, 12, 13 points. And I said, okay, here's the deal. We played pretty poorly as far as shooting the ball, but let's try to get it to 7 by the next media timeout. And so that was their challenge, going out there, and instead of thinking, how do we overcome a 13-point deficit, let's chop it down. And so I said, let's get it to 7 by the next media timeout. Well, by then it was 28-21. And then there was like 3.5 minutes to go, and I said, all right. I said, now let's get it to 4 by halftime. Not asking them to be in the lead or even tie it. I said, let's get it to 4 and we'll be in good shape. And we did that. We were down 4 at halftime. And we felt good at halftime just because we had shot it so poorly that we thought we could play better the second half. And come out second half and score 55, that's pretty good.
Certainly is. And I think something that Coach Proctor mentioned last night that I think obviously maybe the biggest X factor in what allowed you to come back and win this game on the road was just the play of your point guards. The trio, I should say, of Brian Griffith, Justin Taylor, Jeremiah Kemboy, your 3 primary ball handlers, ended the night with no turnovers, ended the night with a combined, as I do some quick math, 40 points, and also dished out 14 total assists. And when you have 14 assists, don't turn the ball over, and have 35-plus points, it's going to lead to a lot of success when the backcourt plays like that.
Yeah, it really is. That was one of the things I saw afterwards. I was like, holy cow, 4 turnovers in a game. That intensity and guys getting after it, good players on the floor on both sides, but only having 4 turnovers. And they got 2 points off of those 4 turnovers, and that happened early in the game when Rashid overpassed it to Brian, and they got a breakaway 2 points, but made it 4-0. That was the only 2 points they got on turnovers the whole game. So if you, even when you're shooting it poorly, you're going to figure it out on the offensive end.
Coach, a guy that we talked about, he's just got named National Player of the Week a couple days ago. Did Brian put up 19 points? Efficiency wasn't the best it's been this year, 7 of 23, but he hit 5 threes. I know you kind of challenged him to pick up his offensive production on the road, and he gives you 19 points, 10 rebounds, leads the team in rebounding. Also has 3 steals, but he did leave that game late. Looked like he rolled his ankle. I know that obviously probably I'm sure day to day heading into the upcoming conference games. But what can you tell us about Brian's ankle?
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations to him on that week that he had last week. He was named the Jayhawk Conference Player of the Week, and then, yesterday came out he was the NJCAA Player of the Week, and happy for him. That's a great accomplishment, good recognition. And then to be able to follow it up, you're right. He and I have talked about his struggles a little bit on the road, and then he misses his first 3 or 4 wide open threes. And he was telling me today that he's like, man, it was just started getting in my head like, are you kidding me? And then he finally hit one and got that confidence going again. And for a guy that was named Player of the Week nationally, the other teams know that. And the other players take a lot of pride in trying to shut a guy down like that. And we had talked about that with Brian and how they would probably try to guard him and stuff. But still to come out with 19, 10 rebounds, for a pretty non-athletic 5'10" guard, that's pretty good.
5 offensive rebounds.
I know. He was sticking his nose in there. And then, he rolled his ankle at the end with a couple minutes to go and came out. Fortunately, it's not as bad as what we initially thought. We're hoping that he's going to be able to play Saturday. We kept him out today, and we'll probably keep him out tomorrow and do some treatment on it, and hopefully he'll be able to play on Saturday.
That's fantastic news, and I think a guy that, we talked about it on the broadcast, that when Brian left that game, obviously Justin Taylor's a big part of this offense, a big part of this team as well, but Brian's a guy that the ball's in his hands a lot late in games and close scenarios, and
good free throw shooter.
And we had even said that, Justin Taylor becomes your number 1 now, and Justin had a couple big, defensive stops, a couple big inbounds plays, hit some free throws, and I think he stepped in and filled that role nicely to make sure that you walked out of Hutch with a win.
He did, and then also Jeremiah Kimboy. At one point, Hutch cut it back to 2 points there. At the end was still pretty good time. I think there was like 30 seconds, 40 seconds to go, and it's a 2-point game, and Kimboy got fouled and went to the line, made 2 free throws, and those were obviously very big.
Yeah, and you mentioned Kimboy. I'm glad you did. 5 points last night. Only took 2 shots, but it felt like both of his scores were huge. The 3 he hit in the corner put your team up 1, and Kimboy's a guy that we've talked about it over the last 2 seasons. Yeah. Not a an active looking to shoot the basketball. So the fact that he hit that corner 3 big, and then like you said, those 2 free throws to put you up 2 scores with just a handful of seconds remaining. I think 5 to 7 points, probably what you're expecting from Jeremiah, but it was a big 5 points last night.
It'd be great if we can get that. If we can get 1 3 from him in a game, I'd be happy with that. Anything after that would be great. A couple free throws. He's a good free throw shooter. And being able to play with no turnovers like he did, because he's a tough guy on the defensive end of the floor, and he can really guard, and he's a good floor leader out there. So, but yeah, if he can at least show people he's going to be able to make a couple shots, that sure helps us.
Well, I know we were talking last night after the game that it was your first college basketball experience, right. And Hutchinson Coffeyville, a pretty good way to get it started. But for a guy that comes from a Division I. You work around not just a D1 program, but a high mid-major D1 program in the Atlantic 10 and the Dayton Flyers. What were your overall takeaways from your first immersion into a night of Jayhawk Conference basketball?
Just the aggressive play, the back and forth. I mean, it's physical. Not to say that Division I basketball is not physical, because certainly it is, but I feel like it was just, kind of at a loss for words, to be honest with you, but I'm impressed by the size of some of these teams, because like we talked about before, some of these second chances for some of these guys, and maybe some guys that didn't get a whole lot of looks coming out of high school. It's impressive, very impressive, and I will certainly have my eyes glued to a lot more junior college basketball going forward.
How's that sales pitch, Coach?
Yeah, well, for a guy, coming from Ohio, junior college isn't big over in Ohio, no. So he hasn't been exposed to it. Out here, the Jayhawk Conference you've been around it now for 3 years, and it's the best junior college league in the country. Yep. And then he's getting exposed to 2 of the better teams, in the Jayhawk Conference, which make you 2 of the better teams nationally, yep. Year in and year out. And that's his first experience with junior college basketball. That's pretty cool.
No doubt about it. And I think, a guy you had mentioned earlier, and I think it was a guy that really gave you some big minutes late in that first half and in that second half as well, was Relya Nagulik. And I think that he came in, he had a couple big, he had an and one that put you in front. He had a couple tough jump shots, a couple nice defensive plays, a couple steals, a block. Just a very athletic, high IQ player. And I felt like, only played about 17 minutes last night, but I felt like his 17 minutes that he was out there last night, one of his better stretches of the year.
Definitely. I thought he really played well also. There were times where we had he and Daniel in there together, and those two generally sub in and out for each other and play that 4 spot for us. But last night, because of Hutch's lineups, they played Cannon a lot at the 5, and that was a tough matchup for Charles going out there when Rasheed had 4 fouls. So we had Relya and Daniel in there at the same time, and those two worked well together. But I thought Relya really, that might have been one of his better games. Just his consistency on the floor, making smart plays, being aggressive when he needed to be, and also got 6 rebounds.
And the other freshman Serbian coach in Konstantin Popovic had 3 threes for you. We know he can score the basketball. He finished with 11 points. But I think in the last 3-4 games or so, much better, much more consistent on the defensive end. Yeah. Getting some big steals, really doing a nice job guarding on the perimeter. He's got a good frame to him, 6'5", and it really feels like he's not just a 3-point shooter for this basketball team. He's a really quality 3-and-D player.
He is. He's smart. He and Relya both. As Serbian background guys, they know how to play basketball. He'll move the ball when he needs to. Usually takes pretty good shots, but yeah, he's starting to figure it out on the defensive end too. Where earlier in the year, just the athleticism, the quickness, the speed of the game, he had to get adjusted to that. and he has now, and he's using his bigger body, his long arms that he has, and he is becoming a real good defender.
And then here, before we take our first break of the show, you mentioned Daniel, and Daniel's been in the starting lineup for the last 3 games, I believe, and obviously one of the best rebounders in the Jayhawk, and when you look at the numbers, but did not score until that second half, had some opportunities, but in that second half, it just feels like that's the kind of player that Daniel can be, where you blink and he'd scored 3 straight possessions for you, Coach, had 6 points in about a minute and a half. And we know what he can do rebounding the basketball, and he's always going to be in the paint, flying around and trying to go after loose balls. And if you can get that quick little 6-8 points out of him, he's going to be a double-double threat every single night in this conference.
Yeah, if he's out near the three-point line, free throw line, and there's a shot taken, you know he's just diving in there trying to go get it. And he just flies through the air. He's fearless that way. Gets a lot of offensive rebounds. That's one of the things that we emphasize every game is just winning that battle of the boards, but also winning second chance points. And last night we had 15-5 on second chance points, so we were plus 10 there, which is great. Earlier in the game, he missed some short shots, and there's times when Daniel, because he's 6'4", strong athlete, tough, but sometimes he tries to draw a foul while he's around the basket. And at one point in the second half, I said, quit trying to draw the damn foul and just put the ball up in the square and quit worrying about the other stuff. And then he went out there in 3 straight possessions. He scores, and, it's just sometimes kids just need a different thought in their head that something clicks for them, and it worked for him. But I just love his tenacity on the floor, how hard he plays. That's one thing about him. He will not be soft out there, and I don't like softness. These guys know that, but Daniel's not soft. He will definitely go get some balls.
No question about that. Big win for the Red Ravens over Hutchinson, 81-77 to move to 4-0 in conference play. Gonna have a tough road game coming up on Saturday against Garden City. Let's take a quick 2-minute timeout. When we come back, more with Coach Herkelman as we get ready for the Garden City matchup on Saturday afternoon. We're back in 2 minutes here on the Red Raven Coaches Show on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. It's a beautiful night here at Wendy's, and we appreciate you being with us from 6 until 7. We continue our conversation with Red Raven men's basketball coach Jay Herkelman as they get ready for Garden City coming up on Saturday. And Coach, as it always is, not an easy stretch in the Jayhawk. You go on the road, you get a win over Hutch, and you're feeling good, and then all of a sudden you got to go on the road to play a really tough Garden City team 3 days later.
Yeah, it's just what it is in the Jayhawk, just like like an SEC conference, it's just night in, night out. You got a challenge. one of our good supporters of our program was at practice on Tuesday, and he obviously knows the Hutch-Coffeyville rivalry and Fish and I's relationship, and he said, boy, you got a big one tomorrow. I said, yep. I said, for me, it's the next one. Because I said, you know what, on Saturday, it's going to be a big one too, because they were picked top 3 in the conference, and they're very talented. And I said, you know, next week when we play next Wednesday, we play a team that's ranked in the top 25 in the country, so that's going to be a big one. Yep. And then after that, we play Cowley County, who's probably at that time going to be a top 10 team in the country, and that's going to be a big one. So it's just what it is in the Jayhawk. You know, it's there are some games you get up a little bit more for, but as we've talked about in the past, try to keep our guys just pretty level, even keel, knowing, okay, we handled our business last night, talked about it. Now we got to move on to the next one, and it's going to be a challenge going out to Garden City.
Well, something I love about this conference, and I think it's been, it's the same this year, is you have your favorites. You had the defending national champion Barton Cougars, who are still a very good basketball team. And you had Hutchinson, you had Cowley, teams that people thought were going to be at the top. And then you have Butler with Eric Nitchie that is outperforming everybody's expectations so far and just beat Barton. And you have, and I think, Cowley looks like one of the best teams, not just in this league, in the nation right now, going on the road to beat Barton until yesterday. Cowley was the only team that had beaten Barton in the last year and a half.
Right.
So I think, obviously you still have your Hutchinsons, you still have your Cloud Counties are playing good basketball, you still have Independence is, an upset team every single night when they're playing a top 5 team in this league. And I think that's the fun of it is, these games against Garden and Cowley and Hutchinson are big, but you also have those 3 or 4 teams that almost outperform their expectations, and now all of a sudden it's like, wow, there's 7, 8 legitimate contenders in this league.
There really is, and this team this weekend, Garden City, Rusty was the coach out there, and right at, a couple weeks into the season, he took an assistant's job at New Mexico State. And he, as assistant, got the interim position, and very talented team. This team's really talented. And I talked to Rusty a couple weeks ago, and I said, how you liking it? And he says, well, it's a lot of work at New Mexico State. He says, a lot of work, but he says, I eat better, I sleep better, and I don't have the stress of having to win the next game in the Jayhawk Conference. And so he told me years ago when he was at Colby, and they had a really good year, and this was the year in 20 when we won the region, and the COVID hit, and he was staying in the same hotel with us, and they won their part of the conference, and had a very good team, and they got beat by Butler, Fish's team, in his first year in the semifinals. And I saw him in the hotel the next morning. He just looked beat up, and he goes, I don't know how you've done it in this league this long. He says, I am not made for this. And so it's just the grind of the conference, It's just what we're talking about. I love the challenges, but, you got to have your team ready, because on any night, if you're not ready to play, you're going to get beat.
No doubt about it. And this Garden City team, like you said, does have some returners. They do bring in some guys with experience, Emmanuel Mannion, Boston Harker, a couple guys that were on the squad a year ago. And then the theme of this year, it seems like in the conference, is go find yourself a sophomore point guard. And they went over to Pratt, and they got Caleb Smith, who played good basketball for Pratt last year. And now he's tasked with doing a lot of facilitating for this Garden City team, and he's done a good job, averaging 15 points a game along with about 3.5 assists. So another guy that knows this league well and plays a really good point guard spot that your defense is going to have to match up with.
Yeah, he's playing well. Harker, who was with Garden City last year, is playing well. And then they also got the transfer from Rutgers, Choach, who's 6'8". He plays a lot on the perimeter. He's very skilled. But they can go with a big lineup. They're very athletic. They play very similar to Independence. They're going to be 5 out, just try to attack you and look to kick it and shoot a lot of threes. And where Independence drives a little more, but they spread you out also. But very talented team, and we're going to have to be really good with our transition defense and and getting a hand out there on those guys on the three-point line.
And something we had talked about earlier is the 4 turnovers last night. Playing in an environment and playing in a matchup that usually brings plenty of intensity and plenty of up-tempo. And your team did a great job protecting the basketball and going up against a team like Garden that loves to push, that loves to go up and down the floor, have quick possessions. It's going to be almost inevitable that maybe at times your team is sped up as well, and another key to this game is going to be protecting the basketball.
Yeah, for sure. They're a team that shows that, they'll give up some points too. So if we can take care of it and not give in to their early pressure that they like to try to force on people, if we can just handle the ball like we're starting to show that we can, I feel like we can get some pretty good shots. And then the next part of it is you got to make them too.
No doubt about it. Yeah, we've talked about obviously guys like Charles, guys like Rashid, such important pieces to this group and such talented players. But we talked about last night with Bobby Cannon playing down low at the 5, maybe causing it to create some different looks and maybe a little bit of a smaller lineup with Garden City doing that 5-out style and spreading around the perimeter. Could we see more of maybe that, Tomboy Nagulik or Tomboy and just a smaller kind of front court where maybe it's 6'7", 6'8" instead of a 6'10", 7 foot down there?
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility depending on who they have in there. They do have a couple lineups where they throw a guy in that will go in and post up, and at that time obviously Rashid and Charles will have to be in there. But there's times when if they're going with 5 just straight perimeter guys, I could see us going with Daniel and Relia in there at the same time. I
think it's interesting when I look at this Garden team. Very similar to Hutch or to Indy, like you said, in the fact that they get their assist numbers are very high because of their offensive output, average 17 assists a game, but also turn the ball over 16 times a game and 15 times per game in conference play. And for a defense like yours that is playing some really high-level basketball right now, guarding well and anticipating in the passing lanes, you forced 12 Hutchinson turnovers last night. It has to feel like there's an opportunity there for you to have success on that end of the floor.
Yeah, Coach Bailey's got this scout, and as we were coming home last night, we started talking about it, and he said that same thing. He just said, I think our press can bother him a little bit. Hutch handled the press pretty good last night. Their turnovers came in the half court, but he feels like our press can maybe have a little bit of influence on some turnovers because they like to go so fast that they may throw the ball around a little bit and get themselves into trouble just with our pressure out there.
And Coach, as we put a bow on the first half of the show here tonight, another thing about Garden, you mentioned they do have some guys that play down in the post and have some good size to them, and they are one of the best teams in the Jayhawks so far at blocking shots, averaging over 5 blocks per game, 6 blocks per game in league play. And I know that you have a lot of slashing guards and guys like Brian and guys like Justin and guys like Kemboy that like to get into the paint, like to put up shots in the lane. And with a team like Garden, it might be a little tougher to do that, and it might be an opportunity for more, driving kick.
Yeah, they're long. I mean, they're long and athletic. They can definitely protect the rim, so we're going to have to be smart when we get in the lane, play off 2 feet, throw some shot fakes. Hopefully they'll jump, maybe get some fouls or good kickouts for some wide open threes.
Jay Herkiman and the Red Ravens, 8-2 on the season and are 4-0 in conference play thus far, looking to make it a 5-0 start to the conference season with a tough road trip out to Garden City this weekend. Coach, thanks so much as always. Looking forward to talking to you more here as the month goes on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's take a 2-minute timeout. When we come back, we'll shift focus to the Lady Ravens, talk to head coach Tony Turner. He joins us in 2 minutes here on US 98 and the Red Ravens Sports Network. I'm Shea Neal, Parker Testa, and we're now joined by Tony Turner as we shift focus to the Lady Ravens here tonight. And a big thanks to Ulysses back in the studio as we shift focus to the second half of the show. And Coach, obviously I think a little bit of mixed emotions here, mixed feelings as we sit here tonight. Not fun to talk about the first loss of the season, but also at the same time, I think that a lot to be encouraged by, a lot to be excited about in that third and fourth quarter. I think there's not many teams in the nation that can sit down and say, wow, we have the talent, we have the skill, we have the ability, the size to match up with Hutchinson. And I think you can sit in the film room and work on some stuff, but I think you can sit in the film room and say, we have the talent, we have the skill, we have the size to match up with Hutchinson.
Oh, no question. We had a good team meeting today, a good film session, and just talked about the things we could control. This crew is young. I mean, even the returners are very young, and then haven't had a chance to, be in that arena. We've been off for 8 days since our last game. We had the Thanksgiving break. So we had a lot of factors against us going in to play the number one team in the country.
And, Coach, I think that, obviously it started off with a slow first half, 2 field goals, a lot of free throws. Your team, I think, did a very good job of getting to the free throw line and converted at a 71% clip. But I'm curious what you saw from the coach's box that led to that. Obviously, was it the way that Hutch was lined up? Was it some poor execution on certain offensive sets? What led to that really slow first quarter that kind of led to Hutchinson building that big lead?
It's called nerves, you know what I mean? And that was the number one factor. We talked about it in the film session about what was going on, and a lot of it was just about the nervous part of it and just getting back to the swing of things. Like I said, we've been off for 8 days, and in that big arena, playing the number one team in the country under a big stage, and had a lot of factors in there. But when y'all sit back and we looked at film, it could have been a lot different half. The first half, we would have just could have controlled the things that we can control.
Coach, I think that when you talk about something Coach Herkelman mentioned was that it's when you go into the Hutchinson Sports Arena, it's different. He said his guys struggled to hit some shots early in that game. And I think that I think he makes a good point, because you go to, there's good crowds around this league that, there's other teams that can fill the stands, but there's not quite another venue like the Hutchinson Sports Arena. And I think when, like you talked about, a team with a lot of newcomers, a lot of freshmen, a lot of transfers that are playing in this league for the first time, you walk into that arena and it's different from NEO. It's different from, playing out in Cali or playing out in Barton or something like that. And I think that can play into the nerves as well, not just, the one next to the name.
Oh, yeah, no question. And, we were the last team to beat them. And so I'm sure that was in their locker room on the board about we were the last team to beat them. And, they stepped up. I mean, they played very disciplined. We didn't play as disciplined as I wanted us to, and just with the little detailed things of the game. And I thought Hutch did a great job of just coming out, playing decent, very disciplined. They follow us on the road, so they got to watch all of our games, all our league games, and as they scout to prepare for other teams, they get to watch us, and they countered us with how we guard, and they did a good job. Coach Anche is a great coach, and he just did a great job of just knowing his stuff.
Well, and we talked about this a little bit post-game last night, but this team, obviously we know what Haley Jackson's capable of. I called her on the broadcast last night a 4-level scorer, because she can score at the free throw line, she can score in the paint, she can score from the mid-range, she can score behind the three-point line. And I know foul trouble played a little bit into this in the first half, but 2 of 8 shooting, 2 of 6 from 3, finished with 12 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. I think you'd take that in a matchup with Hutchinson from Haley Jackson. And I'm just curious now that this is not the first time that this defense is matched up with Hutchinson and made Haley Jackson's life more difficult than it is on a night-to-night basis normally. And I know that you had mentioned, obviously guarding well, but for specifically her, I guess is what I'm asking. What goes into the matchups that the players that you put on her, and what are some of the, the things that you like to focus on making her life difficult, because it seems to be working.
Like you said, she's a four-level scorer. Our main focus was to keep her out of the paint, make her settle for some shots, and she made some big-time plays, definitely down the crunch, hit a couple crucial threes. But I thought our girls, our athletes matched up with her really well. I think our team defense did a good job of keeping her out of the paint, knowing where she was at, bluffing at her, and just making it tough for her. And but again, great players figured out a way to score. He had 12 points. I mean, I know that's, a pretty good score, but I know she's capable of doing more. But no, I thought our team did a great job of knowing where she was at, making it tough on her, contesting her shots, and again, keeping her out of the paint.
And I think that, there's something that really stood out to me, Coach, is Hutchinson, 32 of their 52 shots was from beyond the arc. And I know 15 made threes is a really good number for them. But I feel like, when they come to Nellis Hall here in 7-8 weeks, if you can get them to take 60-65% of their shots from beyond the three-point line, I don't feel like that's necessarily a bad thing for your defense. I think that a lot of possessions last night, there was good defense for 25, 26, 27 seconds, and they made a tough shot or there was a late foul. But I think overall, and I'm not sure your thoughts on this, but I think overall for a majority of the game, you had Hutchinson playing uncomfortable in a lot of different possessions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for them to only score 63 points and hit 15 threes, we did a great job, especially with our slow start. I mean, we did make it uncomfortable, and, we kept battling throughout that whole game, and, give us another 5 more minutes. That game could have went in either way, and could have ballooned up on us more, or we could have, itched more and more into that lead that they had. And, you think about that, we're down 8 points with the ball, and you got a layup or we missed 6 free throws down the stretch, and, just little detailed things like that I thought that we battled and we never gave up, and to play the number 1 team at their place, I thought we did a good job.
I would agree, and I think that something we talked about. It's been a theme and a philosophy of your team since I've been here. Is you got to rebound the ball well, you got to play good defense, and that's what Coach McBride said when we talked to her after Independence. We said, getting ready for Hutch, what do you got to work on? And she said, toughness. She said, we got to rebound the ball and we got to play good defense. And you look at the final box score, you win the rebound battle 46-32. You get 23 offensive rebounds, and you force 19 turnovers, and you force them to shoot 37% from the field. And it's kind of the theme that I keep kind of going back to. But there are a lot of things when you look at this box score and you look at the game on the film, and you see that a 13-point loss or 25-point halftime deficit, I don't think tells the whole story. I think these two teams, from a skill perspective and a talent perspective, are a lot more even than that final score shows.
Oh yeah, I think we match up with them well, and like I said, they had the swag on us like now, and I think when they come to Nellis Hall, we'll be ready to hit us with a couple counters. I'm sure he'll counter again. We'll counter to what we have to do to win the game, and I'm sure we won't play as nervous as we did up there. But this young team is going to continue to grow and get better with the physicality of this league, and the wear and tear, what you got to do to get better every day. And I think it was a great wake-up call for us. We have players. Our practice was great today. Our energy was great today for coming off of a tough loss. I think it was, like I said, a good humbling experience for us. And we're going to bounce back. Good teams usually bounce back after tough losses like this. And our heads are held high, and we're going to come out fighting like sows, I guess.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, you're 8-1, and you're still sitting in the top 4 in the Jayhawk Conference. So you're still in a pretty good spot.
We're in a great spot, and we're going to beat up on each other, and just got to keep battling. You can't let this one loss define who we are. We got to just keep coming out, and we just got to get better, grow on, learn from the mistakes we made. I keep continuing talking about the closer we get to being one, like one team, one unit, will be tough to beat. And the teams like the Hutchinsons and the Bartons and the Dodges, we'll give them everything they can handle.
Coach, we talked a little bit about this last night, and you mentioned nerves early in the game. Did you see at halftime and early in that third quarter, those nerves kind of released a little bit, and your team kind of settled down and kind of got comfortable with what they were doing?
Yeah, we did, definitely. Our halftime speech was like, hey, we got to control the things we can control. We got to go out there and play hard. We talked about the details of what defense we were doing and some of the offensive things. We just were not getting the ball from one side of the court to the other side of the court. We always talk about side, top, side. It was one pass, go make a play, or one pass, throw it right back and go try to make a play. And I thought the second half we came out and we got the ball side top side. I said we got to get the score. We got to score with the clock stopped. So, but we can't do it on just one pass. And I thought we started getting downhill, and once we got to that free throw line a couple times, that basket got a little bigger. Those nerves started kind of calming down a little bit, and that was the difference of the two tails. I mean, we started playing. We started playing how we like to play. You know, side top side, and then attack. And I thought our girls did a great job in the second half doing that.
I think something that Parker mentioned last night at halftime that I thought was a good point. Mike Tyson has a quote where, you know, everybody has a game plan until you get punched in the mouth. And I think that this team, you know, we've talked about it multiple times this year, Coach. They've been ahead of schedule, I think, from everybody really's expectations heading in. I think that at times in non-conference, they outperformed maybe what you thought they'd do early in the season. I think they, for a young team, have really impressed the community and impressed the fan base and got off to an 8-0 start. And were, and for the first time last night, they were punched in the mouth. And I think that in the middle of that game, in that 40-minute stretch, I think they showed a good job of responding and being resilient and fighting back and making it a game in that second half. But I wonder now, sitting in the film room with them today and being back at practice, getting ready for Garden City, how do you think this group will, you know, respond and react to the first time this year where they would go, wow, we didn't have things go our way, or, you know, something didn't work out for us? Because I think that can obviously, you know, not just for your program, for programs all over the country, that makes or breaks a season, how you respond to that, you know, that adversity.
Oh, I thought we responded well. You know, our practice today, we just shot a lot after we watched film. We were in the film room quite a while, just talking about us, talking about what we can do better, how can we grow as a team. You know, some of the mistakes we made, some of the, you know, off the court issues as far as it's just, I make one mistake, I come out, and just little things like that, like, come on, man, that ain't what it's all about. It's about a team. And the closer we can be a team and encouraging each other, it goes a long ways with everything. And, you know, as we looked at that, we got into then we watched film and we got in the gym, shot, and our energy level was really high. They were competing while they were shooting. And I just think, like I said, it's a good growing point. It's a good wake-up call for us. And I told them when we got back, by no means that I think we would go undefeated this year, okay? And I can take a loss. It won't be my first, and I promise you it won't be my last. But I just didn't like how we lost the game, with the things we can control. And we talked about it, showed them on film what we were talking about. I think we had a good wake-up call as far as just like, here we go, let's come out fighting and being a little tougher than what we were last night.
Red Raven Coaches Show live here from Wendy's on downtown Coffeyville on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. And Coach, two players we talked about a little bit last night after the game, but two players that are not just big last night in the second half, but are going to be big for this team moving forward is the forward duo of Karis Washington and Aubrey Highshaw. And I think it's no secret to the fans. It's no secret to you. It's no secret to me. You watch those two on the floor when they're at their best and when they're playing well, and you see two of the best forwards in the Jayhawk Conference. And I think that, you know, they were two of the best players on the floor in the second half. The number one team in the country was out there and has talent all over the board. And I think Karis and Aubrey were just as good as anybody else out there in that third and fourth quarter. And I think the next key for this team taking that next step, making that next evolution, is having Karis as a sophomore leader and having Aubrey with her skill set and her talent really taking that next step and being consistent impact players.
Oh, I thought those two were great in the second half. They came out, you know, I had put them on the bench just kind of like to give them a little wake-up call, like, hey, got to go out there and play how we play within our system, play within yourself. And I thought the second half, they showed that they are two really talented ball players, very tough to guard, very physical, very athletic. And I thought they did what they do best. They attacked, they physical around the rim, they rebounded well, played with a chip on the shoulder, the right chip on their shoulder that second half. And if they can build off of that, there'll be two players in this league that are unstoppable, that people will have a hard time with guarding. I mean, they're good players. I mean, they're good kids, they're great. I mean, I can go on and on about the two. And I just thought the first half they just kind of they let the emotions of the game get to them, and so I had to give them a little wake-up call, like, hey, come on, man, this ain't how we do it. This is not you, and they responded really well, and I do want to pat them on the back for responding and coming out and being strong and physical and showing the talent that they have.
I agree, and I think, it's a good sign that I feel like I bring up Carly Parker's name every time we talk, and I think that speaks to volumes to her talent, her impact on this team. But Carly, the freshman, her first game at Hutchinson Sports Arena, her first game on the road against a really intense pressure-style defense, and puts up 12 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals, only turns over the ball twice, plus-minus of -2. I think the freshman stepped out there and looked like a sophomore, Coach. I think just it feels like every single game at this point she goes out there and it doesn't seem like she looks like a freshman at all.
Not at all. Carly, we call her a dog, man. She's a dog. She's tough. She works extremely hard every day, every drill. I can get into her, man. She listens. She makes a mistake. A little bit off. Like she was late getting on the bus, and we were out in Kobe somewhere, and we're sitting and shooting around. She come on, I'm sorry, Coach. I just kind of overslept. My bad. Like, don't worry about it. You're good. You're good. So don't make it happen again. And she just won't, man. Like, she's just a kid that loves the game, studies the game, a great teammate. Some of the mistakes she made, she knew, like, it was a bad read on. But, they all make mistakes, and her mistake wasn't because of lack of effort. Her mistake is because she's human, and we tell her, hey, just grow from it, learn from it, and come back, get better at it. And I had a meeting with her after we got done with practice today. Like, I need you to run this team. I need you to be tough. I need you to get everybody involved. And, yes, sir, Coach, I got you. And that's just one thing about her. I just really adore the kid, man. She's a hard-working kid and a great player, and just love that. Glad we got her.
And I think that, you make a really good point there where you said a lot of, times when she makes a mistake or she has a turnover, misses a pass that was there, she almost self-corrects and she goes, hey, that was my bad. It was there and I didn't see it. And I think back to, baseball and softball players, and coaches say it all the time about, the truly elite baseball and softball players, Coach, can, whether they're a pitcher or a hitter, they can kind of feel, figure out what feels right for them in their swing path and in their release point. And, obviously you still need coaching, but sometimes you can, be your own coach and make those corrections on your own. And, okay, this doesn't feel right. Let's try this. Okay, that feels right. And I think for a player like Carly, a point guard, or anybody on this team, really, if they can get to the point where in a game situation, in the middle of a game where there's, they probably only talk to you 2-3 times a quarter, if they could be out there on the court and be like, okay, that didn't work, let me try this, and make those self-adjustments, those self-corrections, that's what separates a good team from a great team.
Oh, yeah, no, with her, man, every game, man, I just want to give her another key to the car because she's learning, she's getting better, she's staying tough, man. She's been very coachable, man, like a very student of the game, and that's what's so unique about her, man. Like, she's only going to get better and better and better, and, I said, girl, I want you to run this team, and I want you to do it the right way. And she's like, I got you, Coach. I got you. And I want her to be that coach on the court. And, one day if I'm still coaching, she'll probably be on the sideline with me as one of my coaches after her career is over with. Because that's how good of a student. That's what kind of coach she'll be.
And, Coach, we talked about it with Coach Herkelman. We'll talk about it with you as well. Going on the road to play Hutch. Not much tougher in the Jayhawk Conference than that, but 3 days later, you go on the road and take on a really tough Garden City team as well. Another really tough place to play in this conference. And Coach Franklin's got this team really playing well. They're 4-1 in league play, 4-1 at home this year. So quick turnaround and another really tough matchup against the Bronkbusters.
This game scared me more than the Hutch game. I'll be honest with you, because Coach Franklin does have his team playing. They're big. They run a lot of stuff, a lot of sets. And I'm sitting watching film today, and I'm just like, ooh, that's a great set. That's a great set. That'd be fit right in our personnel. But no, he's a good guy. He knows the game. He studies the game. He has his kids working extremely hard. And, we'll have to go out there and be very disciplined, very physical, because he don't back down. I mean, last year they finished the game with 2 players, and they kept battling, and he didn't back them off. So that's one thing that I told our girls. They're coming. They're going to be physical with you, so you better get your big girl pants on and be ready to play.
I think that's the big difference I see when I look at this Garden team. Is last year, Coach Franklin really only had at times, 7-8 players on his roster to work with, and that starting 5 really played 33, 34 minutes. And if you could get it, I know you had mentioned last year in the matchup with Garden, we're going to try and get them to run up and down because they don't have a ton of depth. And if we can wear out those starting five, we feel good about our chances. This year they've got much more depth than they had last year, and they have a lot of returners as well. In Moultrie, who's their leading scorer and one of the best scorers in the Jayhawk. They have Sierra Dreesen back as well, and Ramos Pimbris, who was their freshman center last year. So it's familiar faces, and it's more depth, and it's a really talented team.
Very talented. They got some 6'4" kids, some athletic kids. I mean, they're gonna screen you. They're gonna guard you. I mean, they're gonna pick you up full court and make you work. And I know last year my strategy was to try to run them, but man, I swear they're probably the best in shape team in this whole league because they work. And it'll be interesting if we can guard the 3-point shot and keep them off the boards, handle their pressure. I like our chances when we get out there.
I think, this team's shown with their talent, with their toughness, their resilience, that, any matchup, I don't care if it's home, road, I don't care what the number is next to their name. I think, you've got a group that has a shot. And I think as a head coach, there's head coaches out there that I don't think they get to feel that way. I think they go into a game with a team with a 1 next to their name, or they go on the road into a hostile environment. I don't think we have a shot. I think you can go into every single game with this team, and the players, the girls you got on this roster, and what the makeup that they have with their toughness, with their competitiveness, and the skill they have on the court. You can go into every single game, and we got a shot.
We got a shot. I mean, Karis and Aubrey, they're very athletic. They can take the ball off the bounce, and we'll get Narika. I mean, we'll get them all the green light. Hey, if they want to get up on you, be a big girl and go take them to the rack, go get and-ones. That game may last 3 hours tomorrow, Saturday, but there's going to be a lot of fouls called, but we're coming. We're getting down here, and we're coming to the rack. We're not going to settle for a bunch of threes. We're getting that ball to the rack and making the officials make calls.
Well, you read my mind in the fact that obviously we've seen players contribute off your bench like Ava, like Olivia, like Lena, like some other players as well. Howie comes in and works her way into that rotation, but and obviously they're important every single night. But in a game like this where there's going to be a lot of physicality, a lot of foul calls, and inevitably probably some players with 2-3 fouls in late first half, early second half, your second unit really going to be asked to step up and show out on Saturday.
Well, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and we're all trying. So we try to coach all 12, 13 of them up to try to be the best they can be. And part of our pregame speech will be, hey, I need this bench ready to step up and go out there and play with some swag. Go out there and don't let them intimidate you, and go out there and play physical. And if that second group will go out there and do that, I think that we'll be able to withstand those storms that they put out.
I completely agree, and Coach, I think that you mentioned that Garden City shoots a lot of threes. They like to be out on the perimeter. They get a lot of they have Mance who leads the team in 3-point shooting, but you'll see a couple other players on this team that really like to shoot the ball a lot. Some sharp shooting wings on this team, but after a game where I think for the most part your defense played well, but Hutchinson hit 15 threes, and I think there were some good looks sprinkled in there. I think there were some tough shots that they hit, but there were some good looks sprinkled in there. Are there any adjustments that you are making in this 2-day practice window to the way that you go out on the perimeter and maybe contest a few more of those shots in the corner?
Well, they set a lot of off-ball screens, so our philosophy will be, we can't go over the top of the screens. We got to get in their back pocket and just be there on the catch. And as long as we're there on the catch, we'll be okay. At Hutch, we had the inside-out approach, just catch it, be there on the closeout on the catch, and Hutch made threes. And to this weekend, the Saturday game, it'll be get in their back pocket, be one, turn that screen into one, you turn into the offensive player so you don't get clipped on that screen. And hopefully the rest officials will call moving screens and when they do try to clip us. But as long as we're there on the catch, I think that we'll be able to challenge their 3-point shooters.
I think I mentioned this to Coach Herc as well because I think this is one thing that the men's and women's team at Garden have in common is they both like to play fast. And both of them are great at distributing the basketball, both score a lot of points, and both get a lot of assists because they score a lot of points. But both teams, something that Garden City's men and women do, is turn the basketball over. The women average 16 turnovers a game. I believe the men average 16 or 17 as well. And your team's been playing good defense all year long, has been active in the passing lanes, among the league leaders, went into last night second in the league in defense, and went into the league top 3 in steals per game. So this team has been good at forcing turnovers and getting in transition, and I think the opportunity is there on Saturday to have to have that defense really make an impact again with the tempo that Garden likes to play at.
Yeah. We'll have to go out in Garden City, not play nervous. We can't miss those little crip shots because, like at Hutch, we missed those little crip shots, and that basket kept getting bigger and bigger for them. So which until they made threes on us, like it just the worries, the pressure of the game. And we go out to Garden City, if we can make those crip shots and easy buckets, they're turning the ball over. If they're turning the ball over like the rate that they are, we can get some easy buckets, and that puts that extra pressure on them to prepare to take care of the basketball. And but we have to capitalize on their mistakes, on their turnovers, and we have to not have that number. I thought we had 21 last night. I think we had way too many last night, but that had a lot to do with the like I said, the being off for 8 days and the rotation of the games and all that. I mean, I don't know what you want to call it, but we can't go out there and have that same effect, especially with the pressure that they put on us.
Coach, as we get ready to put a bow on the show, something I know that we've talked about. You've said in the past, how hard it is to play on the road in the Jayhawk and how hard it is to win on the road consistently. And I think that what separates the top 4 or 5 in this conference from 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th place is having that short memory and having that ability to bounce back quickly. And like you said, it's very rare and almost impossible for a team in this conference or anywhere in the NJCAA to go 35-0 or whatever it would take to go win a national championship without losing a game. I know Hutch did it last year, but that's rare. It's the best run for their program in the history of that school. So I think that, obviously that something that this young team, and you mentioned that they had a great practice today, but something that this young team is going to have to show and something that they're going to have to learn if they want to be a top 4 team in this Jayhawk conference is, we went on the road to Hutch and we didn't come out and we didn't have things go our way. Here's another opportunity to go on the road, to get back on track, and show the Jayhawk conference 72 hours later that we can still beat contenders away from home.
Yeah, it's water under the bridge now. Now you just got to grow from it. Now you get in that film room, figure out what mistakes you were making. Go out there and grow on that. Some of the things that you also look at the good things you did and grow on them, and just do what you do best. Perfect what you do best. Put that game behind you. I promise you they won't go undefeated this year. I can promise you that. Okay, and I just think if we just control the things we can control in this game this weekend and the rest of this season, we'll be fine. We'll be totally fine.
I completely agree. Lady Ravens back in action on Saturday afternoon against Garden City. Big-time matchup there between two teams with one loss in conference play. A lot going to be up for grabs coming up on Saturday. And then back at Nellis Hall for your last 2 games before winter break. And Cloud County and Cali, 2 teams that are always tough as well. So like it is each and every year, it feels like the early stretch of December right before the winter break, always a tough one here in the Jayhawk Conference.
Oh yeah, got to handle our business, especially when we get back at home against Cali and Cloud. We gotta go. We got to protect home court. So. Yeah, got some cup ones coming up.
Absolutely. Coach Tony Turner, good enough to join us here on the Red Raven Coaches Show. Big thanks to Ulysses and Scott back in the studio for making sure the plane stayed in the air. Parker, thanks so much for being here, bud. Hope you had a good time.
Thank you for having me, my friend. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. And safe travels back for you. We look forward to, Southeast Kansas, so keep an eye on the Dayton Flyers.
Hope so.
From 10 hours away.
We'll take all the eyes we can get.
There you go. there you go. Well, we'll have some fun basketball coming up this weekend on US 98. Red Raven football takes on Navarro on Saturday afternoon over on the mighty 690. I'm Shea Neal. Big thanks to Blaine as well for helping us out on RRSN. I'm Shea Neal saying so long here on this Wednesday night, and we'll talk to you next time.
What day is it, Shea?
It's Wednesday. I'm sorry. We'll talk to you next time. Let's get back to the music here on US 98.